Pokémon Legends ZA came out a couple months ago and was immediately received well, selling nearly 6 million copies during its first week. It introduced a completely novel real-time battling system, featured almost every old Mega Evolution along with at least 26 new ones, added challenging boss battles against those aforementioned Pokémon, and brought some closure to X and Y, being a sequel that takes place in Kalos' Lumiose City 5 years later. It's honestly the most fun I've had playing a Pokémon game since Sun and Moon came out back in 2016. Speaking of fun, in this video, I'm gonna see if it's possible to beat Legends ZA without taking any damage. I must protect both my Pokémon and my character, since wild attacks can actually damage the trainer, unlike in mainline games such as X and Y or Scarlet and Violet. I don't have too many rules, but the most important one is that if I take damage in any way, I'll have to reset to my last save point. I'll sprinkle in the rest throughout the video. Let's get into the run. I name my character Big W and arrive at Lumiose City, where I'm immediately ambushed by someone named Tawny. She wants me to star in a hotel ad despite some poor clothing choices, and I proceed to have my bag stolen thanks to a Pancham. We chase it down a couple alleys until we find its trainer, who will be my first opponent of the run. Time to choose my starter. For move pool reasons, I believe that Totodile is the best option, with Tepig a close second. Going into this battle, I was a little concerned that it would be impossible to escape unscathed, since in several of the recent games, namely Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, and Legends Arceus, it's actually impossible to get past the first battle without taking advantage of glitches that were eventually patched out. In other words, scripted damage. During my first several tries, my fears appeared to be well founded, as I couldn't get Totodile out of the way of Pancham's only move, Tackle, which has a crazy hit radius for such a close range move. I kept playing out the battles though, and around 5 attempts later, was finally able to dodge one tackle. It takes about 4 seconds for Pancham to be able to attack again, since most weak attacks in this game like Tackle regenerate faster. The key for me is to try to stay behind or at least beside Totodile when running away, as it will react to my movement immediately. If I'm in front and running in the opposite direction, Totodile will stay in place for too long and get hit. I also need enough space to run, so I sometimes need to move slightly towards the opposing trainer following my attack. Depending on Totodile's attack stat, I'll need to land Tackle somewhere between 5 and 8 times. Leer, although it would lower Pancham's defense, takes way too long to activate to be worth using. After a couple hours worth of attempts, I finally dodge all 7 tackles and take out Pancham. Apparently, that battle took a couple hours in the game too, as Nightfall hits and traps me in a ZA Royale tournament battle zone where you get, well, challenged to battles. So next up is Waitress Brigitte with 2 Pokemon with no way for me to level Totodile up in between. Cleffa is basically a worse Pancham, so that part's pretty straightforward. There's less field space in this battle though, so running away without crashing into a wall requires more precision. Totodile has Water Gun now, but it takes longer to activate than Tackle, so it's not worth using against Cleffa unless it'll pick up a KO. Against Bunnelby, however, which can use the non-damaging Leer, Water Gun has a small window to work. Bunnelby's movement speed is pretty quick, so dodging Tackle is a little more difficult, but still doable. Once Bunnelby is in range of Water Gun, I use and land it just before Totodile gets hit by a Tackle. I have to be careful during battles that have photo finishes like this, as if I unknowingly take damage and continue onwards, I can't ever redo the fight. This is due to the game's built-in autosave function that can't be turned off. It saves after every trainer battle, most wild Pokemon catches, and certain cutscenes or location changes. That second battle took about 4 hours. Floet sends the other trainers in the zone packing, and I arrive at Hotel Z, where I meet the 3,000-year-old man AZ, most well known for numerous Kalos war crimes and Empire State of Mind. Tawny wants me to join Team MZ, where I'll probably have to commit unethical journalism or stalk celebrities or something like that. I meet another member, Lita, who's actually Tierno from X and Y's younger sister. With this conversation, she's basically surpassed his total screen time from those games. I'm officially invited to take part in the ZA Royale, where I need to battle my way up from rank Z to rank A in order to become the #1 ranked trainer in Lumiose, so it's time to finally hit the road and catch Pokemon and overlevel Totodile and progress in the game. Except Tawny and her 2 starters are in the way. This is the 3rd different tutorial trainer battle, and by far the hardest of the 3. Through trial and error, I determined that Tepig has around a 1/3 chance to use Tail Whip and 2/3 chance to use Tackle. Tepig's movement speed seems to be slightly faster than Totodile, so ending this battle in as few moves as possible is necessary. My Totodile's special attack is really low, so it's going to take 2 Water Guns and 2 Tackles to finish the job. I commit to Tepig using Tail Whip since I can fire off a Water Gun and have enough space to dodge an incoming Tackle. If I dodge one more Tackle, or if Tepig uses Tail Whip, I should win this part of the fight. Next is Chikorita, which also has Tackle and Tail Whip. It moves relatively slowly, so its tackles are easier to dodge. I found that the best way for me to avoid damage was to wait for Chikorita to use Tail Whip, keep the camera angle up high, position Totodile where it would be just outside the hit radius of an immediate tackle, and make a run for it afterwards. This way, you're less likely to run into a wall while Chikorita's chasing you, as it'll probably tackle close to the position it was in while using Tail Whip. As you can imagine, inputting everything perfectly was extremely tough, but I finally took out Chikorita after 8 hours. That means I've spent almost 15 hours for the first 3 battles. To be completely transparent, for about the first third of the game, I had already attempted this in another save file, but realized the recording quality was terrible pretty early. I'll play a small amount of footage from that file whenever relevant. I finally unlock Wild Zones, which are where you can catch Pokemon in this game. I've got to catch a mandatory Fletchling, but burn all my Pokeballs trying to land a 360 no-scope. Luckily, Tawny has an infinite amount, so I get 10 more and catch it. The subsequent Bunnelby is also mandatory, though actually damaging it is required as well. That brings me to another rule for this challenge. For all regular wild Pokemon, I'll either need to catch them without landing a damaging move, or catch them without a heal bell. Basically, they just need to enter my party or boxes at full HP. I don't have to worry about that here though, since this Bunnelby will get automatically healed back up to full HP prior to entering my party. After throwing out a tackle and immediately calling Totodile back to its Pokeball, I catch Bunnelby and officially have freedom to train. I purchase around 60 Pokeballs at the Pokemon Center, catch most of the Pokemon in Wild Area 1, and head over to the research lab to meet the new head professor, Mabel, formerly a Team Flare scientist. This event unlocks the Pokedex along with Mabel's reward system, the latter of which will be vital to the early part of the game. For each research rank you move up, you get a new TM 90% of the time, and in rare milestone cases even some better rewards like the Shiny Charm at level 50. The best ways for me to rapidly increase my rank this early are catching Pokemon of various types, catching every Pokemon in a given wild area, evolving Pokemon, and adding new Pokemon to the dex, though that last one's mostly covered through the previous options. While I'm busy spamming Pokeballs, I make sure to run over basically every yellow sparkle I see on the ground. Each one drops a random item from a select pool, most of which are useful in some way. For example, tiny mushrooms that can be sold for 250 each, implying a source of limitless money if necessary, or experience candies that I can use to level up Totodile. These candies will usually be extra small, giving only 100 experience points, but sometimes can be, well, normal small, providing 800. I got really lucky and rolled 2 small ones, moving Totodile up from level 8 all the way to 14, allowing it to learn Bite. Thanks to reaching rank 4, I obtained the TM for Protect, which virtually every Pokemon I plan to use will need to know. In this game, Protect blocks opposing attacks for about a 1.5 second span. Unfortunately, it takes a little while to activate, and has an abnormally long cooldown timer. I teach it to Totodile, which should be good enough to officially take on tonight's battle zone. I'll need to beat 3 total trainers to earn a challenger ticket, which would qualify me for a promotion match to advance to rank Y. In battle zones, you can ambush a trainer who isn't looking in your direction and get the first and potentially first 2 attacks off in a battle. Unfortunately, if they see you first, you'll either be in a regular battle with no starting advantage or, even worse, caught off guard, allowing opponents to get their own free attacks off. The first trainer is really hard to sneak up on because of her location, so I get spotted on my first try. Fortunately, I'm allowed to run away from zone battles without actually losing. Eventually, my sneak attack succeeds, and I take out her Bellsprout without actually needing to enter a proper battle in the first place. Opposing trainers in these zones don't really watch your Pokemon, but focus on your character, so hiding behind boxes, cars, lampposts, or whatever you can find is a good idea. The next 2 trainers are light work, and I earn my first challenger's ticket with ease. Now I'll need Totodile to reach level 21, so it can evolve and use one of the fastest attacks in the game, Aqua Jet. I believe the fastest way to do this is to advance to Research level 10, which awards 10 small EXP candies. I catch a bunch of new Pokemon, including this Pichu to complete the Wild Zone 1 dex, and evolve a Scatterbug and Weedle to farm enough research points. With my new candies, I level Totodile up to 21, realize I didn't give it a nickname, name it after a Dodger to reflect its heroic feats during the first 3 battles of the game, evolve it into Croconaw, and teach it Aqua Jet. I appreciate that move swapping is pretty convenient in this game, as you can check all moves that your Pokemon can learn from just one menu, including the TMs that you own. With Bite, Ice Fang, and Aqua Jet, Croconaw has 3 of the fastest attacks in the game in terms of activation time, though the first 2 require it to be next to the opposing Pokemon. I head out for the fated battle against Zack the Driver, who has lost 99 promotion matches in a row. He has 3 Pokemon, starting with a Slowpoke that knows Tackle, Water Gun, Confusion, and Growl. Croconaw's Bite activates faster than any of those moves, but I'll have to move up close towards Slowpoke first, meaning Confusion or Water Gun might harm Croconaw. If Slowpoke starts moving closer to Totodile, that'll indicate it's using Tackle or Growl. Therefore, the safest initial move for me is Protect. I click it too early in game 1 as Slowpoke uses Growl, which somehow takes long enough to activate to stall out my Protect. At -1 attack, Totodile's Bite doesn't KO or flinch, and I get hit by Confusion, ending Zack's losing streak. Let me try that again with more patience. I see Slowpoke go for Confusion and Protect in time. Bite takes it out, and Zack sends out Pidgey. I made sure to move close enough towards it beforehand so Croconaw could use Ice Fang prior to any opposing attack. Zack's last Pokemon is Pikachu, with the attacking moves Thundershock and Quick Attack. Using Aqua Jet is completely safe, as if Pikachu uses Thunder Shock, I'll have enough time to protect and maybe even bite following my first attack. If Pikachu uses Quick Attack, both attacks phase through each other as shown in my original run, meaning I can just use Bite or Ice Fang to win the battle from there. Pikachu uses neither of those attacks and goes for Thunder Wave, leaving it open for a Bite to seal the game. I head back to grab some Z's at the hotel and am offered one of the dishes of all time. Here's to hoping we see croissant curry on Binging with Babish soon. The head of the city's construction company, Tarragon, gives me a red canary plush, which increases the amount of EXP I get by a little bit. I can purchase 2 higher levels of this plush anytime, along with other plushes with useful effects such as increasing the amount of mega shards I receive from breaking crystals, or improving the chances of Pokemon captures. I should grab as many of those purple colorful screws that I see around the city to speed up the rest of the challenge. With access to Wild Zone 2, I can catch some more Pokemon. Binnacle and Patrat provide attack EVs, so that'll help Croconaw in the long run. Speed EVs, which I can get from Pokemon like Magikarp, are also useful, but not as much in this game as they would be in a mainline game due to the lack of a turn order. In ZA, the higher your speed, the faster your moves recharge. It's probably most useful if you'll need to use one move over and over again on multiple Pokemon in a battle. It has 0 effect on activation time. Something that does speed up activation at least 20% of the time is the Quick Claw, a hold item I obtain at a stand next to Wild Zone 2. It's probably best on special attackers that have moves that take a while to load up, but I give it to Croconaw for now. Near Wild Zone 3, a guy named Ivor from the Fist of Justice dojo announces he wants to get rid of Wild Zones. He argues that it won't be dangerous, assuming you can compete with Pokemon in hand-to-hand combat. That's a moderately concerning statement for a few reasons, but okay. I take out one of his disciples in combat, then catch almost every Pokemon in Wild Zone 3, including an Esper and Pikachu. The head of Lumios's detective agency is now Emma, someone who was originally only featured in X and Y's postgame. She assigns a few mandatory side quests, one of which requires me to trade someone a Pikachu. In return, I get a Heracross named Boys, or Bois. A 125 base attack stat should be pretty useful for a long time, especially this early. I do need to level Heracross up a bit though. I find enough colorful screws to receive the highest level Red Canary EXP plush, and catch or defeat some Pokemon close to level 20 in Wild Zone 6 like Houndour, Buneary, and Meditite. There's normally an Alpha Pokemon here that's difficult to deal with, especially since Alpha Pokemon can deal damage to your character simply by screaming close to you. However, since I haven't beaten the mandatory side quest that unlocks Alphas yet, I can navigate this area safely. Eventually, I get Heracross to level 24, which allows it to learn Brick Break, a 75 base power close range fighting move that activates Borderline instantly, like Bite and Ice Fang. It also got access to Detect, which basically gives it a second protection move. If an opponent has 2 fast attacks, I can use these moves in succession to avoid both. Detect lasts for a shorter amount of time than Protect, but activates slightly faster and has a smaller cooldown time. The Alpha side quest should be a piece of cake now, and it sure is as Heracross takes out Bunnelby. Emma wants to battle, but with only a Mareep, there's nothing she can do in time. Several new side quests pop up, most of which I decide to complete. That includes this one to obtain Fennekin, in which I have to pick up 5 different twigs without getting caught by an Alpha Whirlipede in Wild Zone 5. As I mentioned before, if an Alpha Pokemon roars near you, and you aren't in the middle of a roll, you're gonna take damage. With some careful maneuvering, I grab all 5 on my first try. Time to start adding some new members to the party, at least temporarily. I swap Fletchinder out for Fennekin, Vivillon out for Meditite, Flaffy for Esper, and Beedrill for Houndour, though that mon won't be here for very long. I nickname Fennekin Firepaw and Esper Goat. I need to get some more battles in for my next Challenger ticket, so I enter a battle zone without the game handholding for the first time. Although trainers are randomized, you can use this document that I'll link in the description to determine what Pokemon various trainers have, along with their moves, IVs, and EVs. Heracross's Aerial Ace is pretty useful here, as it's a 60 base power flying type move that activates almost instantly, even faster than some moves I've talked about before like Bite and Ice Fang. I earned my second Challenger's ticket easily. Croconaw and Heracross, more so Croconaw, have probably gained a ton of unfavorable EVs over the course of my playthrough. Croconaw's nature also is not attack boosting like Heracross's is, so its damage output leaves a lot to be desired. Luckily, I can solve both problems already. I head over to John Plaza and talk to one of the mint vendors in order to purchase a Lonely Mint for 20,000, which changes a Pokemon's nature to boost attack and lower defense. In Magenta Plaza Sector 6, I can buy any of the 6 EV reducing berries for 200 each. Each one lowers a certain stats EVs by 10, so I can remove any unnecessary HP, defense, special attack, or special defense from my 2 physical attackers inexpensively. I stuff Croconaw with berries and the mint, then head over to Wild Zone 2 to do a small amount of EV training, making sure to take the special attackers off my team. I use a few rare candies that I found around the city to level up Croconaw to 30 and evolve it into Feraligatr. My next promotion match is against Yvonne, who has a Spritzee, Swirlix, and Vivillon about half of Feraligatr's level. Aqua Jet isn't strong enough to knock out Spritzee, and I can't protect in time for its next attack, Disarming Voice. I can try to get Feraligatr to around level 40 to allow Aqua Jet to KO her Pokemon 100% of the time, train up an entirely new Pokemon, or immediately commit to Spritzee using Fake Tears and try to win from there. One of those options is not going to take an extra hour or more. On the very next try, Spritzee uses Fake Tears and Slash with a follow-up Aqua Jet cleans it up. Swirlix is next and uses Charm to lower Feraligatr's attack to survive a Slash. Aqua Jet covers the difference again, and I switch to Heracross just before she sends out Vivillon. Aerial Ace sends it, and I move up to rank X. After adding the rest of my team back to the party, I realize Fennekin is level 17, so I evolve it into Braixen and change its nickname to Fireheart. I've got a battle with the other TMZ member Naveen soon, so I've got to prepare a bit. I use some of my leftover EXP candies to get Feraligatr to level 32 and begin the battle. He leads off with Spinarak, but Aqua Jet knocks it out before he can use Shadow Sneak, which is basically a ghost-type Aqua Jet. Sableye also always uses Shadow Sneak first, and has a high enough defense stat to where I'm sure it's surviving Jet. Its only other attack, Takedown, is physically avoidable though. Once Feraligatr protects itself from Shadow Sneak and runs out of the takedown line of fire, Sableye clicks a status move, Leer. That provides an opening for an Aqua Jet and Ice Fang combo to take it out. Naveen's ace is scraggy, so I make sure to switch into Heracross beforehand. Aerial Ace ends another fight, and I receive my next promotion opponent, Javi. There aren't any side quests directly helpful towards the challenge at this moment, but I still finish most of them because they're the best sources of EXP candies right now. This Battle Zone night was a little irritating since I had to reset a few times due to bad prep and bad move execution, mostly referring to misclicks. Those are bound to happen with constantly changing movesets, so I plan to mostly keep important moves binded to certain buttons, depending on the Pokemon. For example, for Braixen, the top move would always be a Psychic attack, the right would be a Fire attack, and the bottom would always be Protect. I earned the next ticket after Heracross murders an Esper, after which I traveled to the Rouge district to get promoted. Javi has a Venipede, Kadabra, Roselia, and Furfrou. Furfrou has a ton of close range attacks, so I'll have to be right next to Javi when he sends it out, but the other three Pokemon can be taken care of from afar. Venipede will likely use Spikes on turn 1, so I'm pretty sure Braixen is my only option. With its new level up move Psyshock, it's able to knock out Venipede while staying safe from the spikes. Switching into Heracross should force Kadabra out, which will click Reflect. Pin Missile knocks it out after the screen goes up, and I switch in Braixen for Roselia, which will also go for spikes immediately. My targeting stops working properly though, and Roselia gets off a Magic Leaf before Psyshock can take it out. I likely had a bad camera angle or something. Next time I misclick Protect, but get away with it since I'm able to click Psyshock a few tenths of a second earlier than before. I couldn't safely move close enough to Javi in time while sending out Heracross and avoiding the spikes, so I might need the Quick Claw to activate. Or not. Somehow, Heracross didn't actually get hit by that Fire Fang. I ran it back just to be safe, this time moving Heracross in after Kadabra rather than switching out into Braixen. Aerial Ace knocks out Roselia, and Brick Break unquestionably knocks out Furfrou in time. The next Team MZ battle is with Lita, who leads off with a Clauncher possessing Aqua Jet. I'm gonna need Detect's fast-acting protection, so I have Heracross use it immediately, then knock Clauncher out with Brick Break. I move Heracross in close, and the incoming Vanillite meets the same fate, as does Staryu. After failing to catch a Pidgey, I head over to the Lumiose Museum because there's a Spupa outbreak. Once you find all 12, you get a 13th for free. I hope you didn't toss this one away, as it actually evolves into a Vivillon with a unique pattern. Anyways, the main reason for completing that quest was to get both the Wise Glasses, which boost the power of special moves by 10%, and Normal Gems, which boost the first normal type attack used by the holder by 30%. I breeze through an uneventful Battle Zone day and prepare for my next Royale promotion match against Rintaro of Restaurant Lena. He has 3 elemental monkeys, and I'm happy to see each one has Protect. Pretty much any medium to high level trainer will always use it as their first attack, assuming you attack their Pokemon in time. That means you can burn a terrible move into it and start charging up a good one immediately. Rintaro leads off with Simisage, which I burn a Rock Blast into. Pin Missile KOs it before you can use any attack following Protect. Next is Simisear, which I have to be more careful against since Flame Wheel can probably hit Heracross before it finishes firing off all the rocks. I dodge Flame Wheel and get a nice Quick Claw activation that probably didn't matter but definitely confirmed a safe KO. Last is Simipour, which I'm able to land one of 5 pins into prior to it protecting. Brick Break brings it down low, and I immediately click Detect to stop the incoming Bubble Beam. Rock Blast wins the game, and I advance to rank V. Psyduck appears for the first time in this game and leads me to a building where an Absol is not having a great time. Thus begins my first battle against a rogue Mega Pokemon. Going into this challenge, this was actually the fight I was most worried about, even more so than that first Pancham battle. You don't get to use your own Pokemon and are instead forced to use AZ's level 28 Lucario. Most rogue Pokemon like to attack the trainer rather than the Pokemon if both are in sight, so if I keep Lucario far away by using Aura Sphere while baiting Absol in the other direction, I should be golden. I'm not worried about my character since rolling is pretty busted in this game, providing invincibility for a ton of frames, even for some seemingly after the roll ends. Absol has 2 primary attacks and 1 ultimate move. I'm just gonna call it that the rest of the vid. It tips its long range attack, Air Slash, by standing still for a while pretty far away from you. You can run away from this pretty easily, but you don't want to sprint in order to keep Lucario close to you while you run. If you run too fast, Lucario will be caught in the original path intended to hit you. If Absol's going to use its close range move, Slash, it runs towards you and hops once. That's the safest time to use Aura Sphere, which is a relatively long range attack even when compared to some other special moves that also homes in on the target. Absol's ultimate is Dark Pulse, which covers about half the field with a wave emanating from it. If you stay far away, you're safe. After hitting Absol enough times, it drops enough orbs to fill the Mega Meter, letting me Mega Evolve Lucario. Mega attacks deal massive chunks to Absol's health bar and eventually daze it, allowing me to spam more moves for a short time. Once it goes under half HP, it becomes enraged, causing all its attacks to get faster and more frequent while its ultimate covers almost 2/3 of the field. After around 2 real-life hours, I get everything to go right and finish off the Absol. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time joins the party, and I nicknamed it Real Goat because that's what I used to think it was based off of as a kid. It'll need to solo the upcoming battle against Tawny, who's blocking the entrance of Hotel Z. She's got a Pignite, Bayleaf, and Mega Manectric, which only has fast physical attacks, so I've got my work cut out. I feed Absol a Lonely Mint to transfer over an attack boosting nature, along with a couple proteins that boost attack EVs and a rare candy. Lastly, I teach it Aerial Ace. Pignite is using its super effective power-up punch first, so I evolve Absol and start running backwards in order to dodge it. Aerial Ace cuts through Pignite, and I move in close as Tawny sends out Bayleaf. I'm gonna need Manectric to be KO'd with a Night Slash and Quick Attack combination, so I set up Swords Dance as Bayleaf uses a guaranteed Leech Seed. If you KO a Pokemon that has set up Leech Seed on you, the effects go away, unlike in mainline battles. Bayleaf goes down before any health can be sapped, and Tawny sends out Manectric, which I'll have to dodge either a Spark or Thunderfang from. I get Absol out of the way of Thunderfang and then barely avoid a Spark, allowing a boosted Night Slash to take out Manectric with what was apparently not even a critical hit, though Quick Attack was right there for backup if necessary. There are about 3 things to unpack here. When Manectric used Spark, my character actually got hit. This can happen in trainer battles even with moves from your own Pokemon, but I'm not counting these since your character isn't actually taking damage. Another thing I should address is why I didn't give Absol Detect or Protect this battle. In Legends ZA, all Mega attacks are plus moves which have special effects. One is that they boost the power of attacks by 20% unless they're super effective, in which case it's 30%. The other is that they can still deal damage through protection moves. That's why I never had Lucario use Protect versus Absol and never taught Absol Detect here. In my old run, I was actually using both to try to beat Manectric, but as you can see, Absol actually lost 3 HP from Thunderfang. Funnily enough, I didn't notice this and finished the battle without resetting, permanently losing me that run right there and then, since the game autosaves after every trainer battle once your character can move. I didn't continue that run for much longer anyways, so that's the last of the old footage I'm showing. With the slog part of the game finally over, I arrive at Quasartico and have to battle a couple of menacing Dedenne guards alongside Tawny. Sorry, did I say have to battle? My bad. Vinny from Quasartico is my next ZA Royale opponent, but I've got to prep a bit first. Vinny has a Houndoom, Baniri, Sharpedo, and Drampa, one of the new Mega Evolutions. All of them are weak to Heracross, but Houndoom has Fire Spin, one of the faster special moves in the game. My only way to outpace and KO it is with Feraligator's Aqua Jet. Even non-Mega attacks can become plus moves as long as you click the plus button beforehand on your switch. This usually applies to moves learned by level up, but Aqua Jet meets that criteria. I challenge Vinny, but a plus move Aqua Jet isn't enough to take out Houndoom, and Feraligator takes damage. 4 more levels and some attack EVs later, I try again. Aqua Jet knocks out Houndoom this round, and I switch into Heracross as Vinny sends out Baniri. Brick Break outpaces Draining Kiss, but a Sharpedo with Aqua Jet is next up. For some reason, Whirlpool is prioritized over Aqua Jet, so another Brick Break brings Vinny down to Drampa. While it gets bulkier after Mega Evolving and can definitely survive Brick Break, it's programmed to always use Safeguard on the first turn, letting me get 2 attacks in. Well, assuming I don't misclick Detect. I replace Aerial Ace with Lunge, an 80 base powered bug move that should cover the rest of Drampa's HP following a Brick Break. Lunge charges up before Icy Wind, and Drampa goes down to my 5th attempt. Thanos has updated the English language, and letters U through G do not exist in the alphabet anymore. The Quasartico shop is finally open, meaning I can actually purchase small EXP candies using shards. I even out my team a bit with what I can currently buy, and evolve Breaksin into Delphox. I teach it Mystical Fire and Flamethrower, then change its name from Fireheart to Firestar. Team MZ has a strategy meeting to deal with some new rogue Pokemon, namely Camerupt, Victreebel, and Slowbro. AZ gives me the Feraligatorite, letting me evolve it into this thing. I evolve Meditite into Medicham, then purchase the Medichamite from the Stone Emporium. Once every major player is around level 50, I'm ready to take on the rogue Pokemon with Camerupt being up first. Feraligatr now knows Liquidation, an 85 base power move, so it finally has a physical water attack that isn't weak like Aqua Jet. Hydro Pump's a special attack, but it's long range and still hits pretty hard. With the help of Leeta's own water types, we daze Camerupt easily. Camerupt's ultimate move involves firing a bunch of molten rocks around the field, which will explode several seconds later. Withdrawing Feraligatr for a while bypasses that obstacle, and I escape the battle despite a misclicked Hydro Pump being the finishing move. I grab the TM for Power Up Punch in the middle of Wild Zone 9, teach it to Medicham along with Ice Punch, Psyshock, and Zen Headbutt, then take on Victory Bell. Unfortunately, base Medicham is both a slow mover and weak attacker, so I'm gonna need to collect Mega Orbs using a different Pokemon, like Delphox. We dodge all the Bullet Seeds and Vine Whips pretty easily, and several Flamethrowers and Psychics stun Victory Bell. I collect the orbs and switch to Medicham, Mega Evolving it while Victory Bell is charging up. By staying close, you can avoid all the Poison Puddles, although you risk it using Vine Whip. Medicham is strong enough to bring it to half health before that can happen though, so Victory Bell has to start loading up its ultimate again. Several Power Up Punch boosts Zen Headbutts and Ice Punches complete this job. Slowbro has a ton of long range attacks like Water Pulse and Psybeam. Heracross will probably do the most damage here by far, although its Mega moves really slowly. That means I should probably use Absol at first. Once I have enough orbs, I Mega Evolve Heracross and run far away. Slowbro's ultimate move creates 2 waves of water tornadoes around it that are pretty easy to dodge. Once they pass, I start spamming bug type attacks and force Slowbro into attempting its big move again. That buys just enough time for 1 lunge and 1 Mega Horn to knock it out. When I fly back to Hotel Z, I've got to battle Zygarde for the first time, but it's no match for Feraligatr's Ice Fang. Lysander from X and Y shows up with white hair and a new name, L. It wasn't clear whether he died or gained eternal life after firing the ultimate weapon in X and Y, so it's cool to get confirmation on that. My F-rank promotion match is coming up, and it's against Naveen's tier 3 sub, Canary. I've got to defeat him to earn some info on where to find her, and Mega Heracross's Aerial Ace takes out all 3 of his Pokemon easily. Apparently, I have to win a trivia contest about Canary to even request a promo match. I easily survive the first few rounds using Naveen's help, but need to defeat the final boss of the Twitchmod stereotype in order to win. I lead with Heracross, which knocks out his Helioptile with Brick Break, then send in Feraligatr as he sends out Emolga. Emolga will go for a super effective Spark or use the status move Charge, so I wait to see if I should use Protect or Ice Fang. Since Spark comes out, I Protect at the correct time, then Ice Fang to knock Emolga out. That leaves his Ace Raichu, for which I send out Absol. When you Mega Evolve in this game, you gain immunity for about a full second from what would have happened if you didn't Mega Evolve. Once I see Raichu use Brick Break, I Mega Evolve to dodge it. I probably should have moved forward a bit so he wouldn't recall his Raichu towards him, but Absol's fast enough to use Night Slash before getting hit by Thunderbolt. Canary apparently lives at the building that sells her merch, so I head over to Racine Construction. Now I've got to battle Tarragon, Canary's ground-type grandpa. I taught Feraligatr Hydro Pump again because I thought it could KO Hippowdon in 1 hit while dodging incoming Stealth Rocks. It doesn't do that because of Hippowdon's special defense boosting Amnesia, but it puts it in range of any other attack. I draw Hippowdon out so I can avoid the rocks, and have Feraligatr knock it out with Aqua Jet. It's safe to Mega Evolve, so I do that prior to Tarragon sending out Diggersby. I try to stall at the Stealth Rocks while Diggersby uses Swords Dance, but waste too much time and have to attack hoping Feraligatr's arm doesn't touch a rock. Which it doesn't. That leaves Excadrill, who somehow got a Mega buff that it definitely did not need. Speaking of overkill, it uses Swords Dance and gets liquidated. I try a couple strategies against Canary and her electric types, but it's clear I stand no chance as it is. I caught a Drillbur a couple hours earlier in Wild Zone 8, and it subs in for Medicham, turning my team into exactly what I and probably many other people had during their casual playthroughs. After training it up to level 50, I teach it Drill Run and Protect, then make it Lonely. 1 Quick Claw later, it's ready for Canary. She leads off with a Heliolisk that will always go for Bulldoze, but Drill runs faster and runs through it. Stunfisk uses Charge and falls to a second Drill Run, leaving just Ampharos prior to her Ace. Ampharos will use Cotton Guard to boost its defense, so if I can't one-hit KO it, I'll need to dodge its attacks. Fortunately, Drill Run's high critical hit ratio shuts that issue down, leaving just Mega Electros. It'll almost definitely use Crunch or Giga Drain due to the type matchup, so I need to stay close enough for one of those moves to fire, but far enough to dodge. Excadrill evades Crunch and knocks out Electros with a 4th Drill Run. A new wave of rogue evolutions pop up, but there's not much preparation to do this time around thanks to my already high levels. I travel to Magenta Plaza to complete the Chasing Status side quest. This awards a few proteins and calciums along with 1 Power Bracer. If you give a Pokemon a Power Bracer, it'll lose half its speed, but will earn 8 extra attack EVs per Pokemon knocked out. I buy several more EV reducing berries and roughly max out my physical Pokemon's attack stats by KOing Pokemon under level 10. I'm calling back Medicham in for a bit since Mega Beedrill has a base defense stat of 40. Abilities aren't actually in ZA, but Pokemon that normally get the attack doubling huge power or pure power, like Mega Mawile and Medicham, actually have much higher attack stats than in the mainline games. Mega Medicham and Mawile have base attack stats of 100 and 105 before applying the effects of their abilities, but those stats increase to 140 and 145 respectively in ZA to make up for the lack of doubled power. All that's to say, Medicham is about to be charged with Insecticide. Delphox and Tawny's Emboar deal enough damage to Daze Beedrill, providing a safe path to send in Medicham and have it Mega Evolve. Beedrill's ultimate move is pretty easy to dodge, as you can literally sprint around the outside edge to avoid every pin missile. The rest of the battle is a straight shot until the end. Medicham enrages Beedrill, forcing it to waste time charging up twice in a row, and a couple attacks finish it off. Hawlucha is functionally a better Absol. Faster air slashes, a faster close range attack, and an ultimate flying press that can hit everything on the field if Hawlucha is not damaged enough while charging. It also jumps around a lot, making moves that lock in like Psychic and Psyshock pretty important. After about an hour, I'm able to stun Hawlucha with Delphox and set up Medicham to try and pick up its third rogue victory. A couple of attacks easily bring it under half HP, and a couple more stop it from charging. I withdraw Medicham and run away from the shadow of a flying press, which lands harmlessly. I get a little lucky that Hawlucha locks onto my character instead of Medicham, but one round of attacks later, I win. That leaves Mega Bayonet, which Absol should be able to deal with using a Night Slash, Knockoff Shadow Claw, and Swords Dance moveset. Bayonet starts the battle off with Double Team, creating 2 low HP clones that can still use all other attacks from its wide move pool. They can disappear and ambush you with Phantom Force, confuse Absol or damage the trainer with Confuse Ray, attack with close range Shadow Sneaks, and fire off Shadow Balls. KOing both clones before Bayonet uses its ultimate Shadow Claw is ideal, so you'll only have to dodge one of them instead of 3. You can also heavily damage the main body to take out the clones, but that's difficult with 2 other Pokemon hunting you. The positions of the clones at the start of the fight are always the same, so the first option is more consistent. After one phase, Absol Mega Evolves and takes out one clone, even when confused, since confusion affects nothing but an afflicted Pokemon's movement path in ZA. Naveen's Ariados removes the other, and I get lucky being able to avoid the Shadow Claw without having to roll or withdraw. Mega Absol stuns Bayonet with just one Night Slash, and a couple more attacks get me out of there. After obtaining my Challenger ticket, I head back to Hotel Z, where I learned that I've gotta battle Ivor next. Well, maybe after an hour-long family fetch quest because his sister Gwyn ran away from him. We visit Emma's detective agency, City Hall, and a food truck before arriving at Racine Construction, where Canary wants to battle again. I got the Excadright from Quasartico a little while ago, so I have enough firepower as is to win. I grab the TM for Ice Beam in Wild Area 12 to freeze public property, and teach it to Absol. Pretty much every beam move sucks in this game due to long activation times. Following more implied animal abuse from Ivor, Gwyn challenges me to a battle. Ghost types are just Absol fodder though. Night Slash takes out Bayonet, while a Mega Night Slash takes out Gourgeist and Mega Chandelier, which is probably my second least favorite of the new ones. It's just Chandelier with more Chandles. Ivor's battle is pretty straightforward, with all of his Pokemon being fighting types. He leads with Heracross while I summon Absol. Heracross should either use Brick Break or Pin Missiles, so running around the field should cover either option. If I see Heracross running up close to use Brick Break, I can Mega Evolve to evade it with the temporary immunity. It uses Pin Missile instead, pausing that strategy for a few seconds. A 4-time super effective Aerial Ace KOs it. Next up is Medicham, which has Protect. I Shadow Claw to bait it out, so Aerial Ace can pick up the knockout afterwards. Third is Machamp, which probably has too high of a defense stat, so I switch to Delphox. Machamp clicks Bulk Up to raise its physical stats, while Psychic just barely falls short. Its slow activating super effective Bulldoze is pretty much guaranteed to be next though, so Mystical Fire cleans it up. Last is Phalanx, which should Mega Evolve and go for either No Retreat, boosting all 5 stats by 1 stage each, or a super effective Rock Slide, which takes a long time to activate while still being avoidable. Phalanx chooses Rock Slide, and Psychic wraps up the battle safely. I probably should have given Delphox the Wise Glasses to boost its special attacking power by 10%, since that would have locked up Machamp. Thanks to Tawny's expectation of her advertisement going viral and a 900% interest rate, Hotel Z is now $1 million in the hole. That takes me to the Rust Syndicate's office in Blue Plaza, where I take out a grunt who likes to sacrifice Garbodor for sport. The final boss of grunts, Philippe, calls his own number. He has a bunch of steel types that can be knocked out by Delphox, but his battle is still one of the harder ones in the game. In preparation, I buy and use several EV reducing berries on Delphox, then use 7 calciums to boost its special attack by 70 EVs. With the Wise Glasses, Mystical Fire takes out Steelix before he can use Stealth Rock, and incinerates Scizor in the same manner. Philippe's ace is Skarmory, which gains a ton of speed when Mega Evolving, both stat-wise and movement speed-wise. Its special defense also goes up, but a plus move Mystical Fire should be able to KO it. Flamethrower would probably activate too late. Delphox uses Mystical Fire, but Skarmory's Drill Run hits it just before falling, forcing me to reset. On the next attempt, I was slow to attack Steelix, allowing Stealth Rocks to be set up, basically removing half the battlefield for me. Mystical Fire still has a long enough range to KO Scizor, and I run far back to maximize the amount of time I have to use it again. Skarmory uses Drill Run, but the distance pays off and Delphox wins the duel. That allows Lita and I to meet the boss, Corbeau, who forces us into indentured servitude to pay off our loans. Yet another set of 3 rogue Pokemon pop up, being Mawile, Barbaracle, and Ampharos. Mawile doesn't really have any dangerous attacks except for Play Rough and its ultimate. Play Rough is a teleporting close range move, while the ultimate fires orbs that cover the entire map in 4 waves, starting from the furthest point of the map relative to Mawile. The enraged attack adds several duos of small homing exploding orbs. Withdrawing and running away is the best strategy as usual. Eventually, I'm able to bait Mawile into targeting my character with Iron Head while Excadrill is behind it, allowing a Drill Run to land and stun it one final time. A couple more attacks knock it out. I decide Heracross has outlived its day and replace it with another French trade Pokemon, Riolu. While I was running around Lumiose earlier in the game, I met a kid who wanted to trade his Riolu for an Abra. A lot of lopsided trades in this city. I evolve it into Lucario and max out its attack. One of its moves, Extreme Speed, was probably the best one for this challenge. It's a 65 base power normal type move that activates and cools down as quickly as the 30 base power priority moves like Bullet Punch and Aqua Jet. Unfortunately, with pretty much every trainer Pokemon having 252 HP EVs this late in the game, it probably requires an excessive amount of overleveling to actually pick up one it KOs. The usefulness of small EXP candies tapers off around level 60, which is why you haven't seen my old Pokemon gain many levels recently. Anyways, one of the reasons I picked up Lucario is because I lacked a Pokemon that could deal strong damage with both long range and close range moves, while also being fast enough to justify using it. Barbaracle is probably the single toughest rogue battle up until this point. Its 2 primary attacks are pretty avoidable, since Rock Slide is slow to activate and Power Up Punch has limited range. However, its ultimate close combat is nearly unstoppable. At the start of charging up this move, it summons 3 Binnacles that can use Water Gun or Slash. That increases to 5 in Enraged mode. If Barbaracle isn't damaged enough while charging, close combat will become unavoidable, and even if you somehow survive it, you'll have to deal with a giant beam-like attack afterwards. Even in my casual playthrough, this took me an hour to beat, although I didn't know I could withdraw my Pokemon with fighting most Rogue Evos. Lucario's Aura Sphere should allow it to deal early damage from a safe distance, while Power Up Punch in close combat should help when Barbaracle is stunned or charging up its big move. Bulldoze can take out multiple Binnacles at once if necessary. After several hours, I'm able to stop Barbaracle from charging both its attacks, and only need to survive one more. Unfortunately, I waste too much time withdrawing Lucario and take damage just a few hit points away from winning. It's only a matter of time though, and on the very next run, I switch Lucario directly into the line of fire. 3 hours later, I get to the exact same point I was at before, and patiently wait for Barbaracle to start charging again. Close combat puts that terror of a Pokemon to rest. Only Mega Aurafarmos remains. The edge of the map is incredibly broken in this battle, and I take it out in just 4 tries using Excadrill. I pick up the TM for Iron Head since Exca doesn't actually get it through level up, and head to the Rust Syndicate for my promotion match against Corbeau. Prior to the battle, I teach Lucario both Ice Punch and Thunder Punch, and give Delphox the Wise Glasses. Corbeau uses all of his strength to toss Arbok 3 yards, and Psychic knocks it out before he can use Toxic. I send in Lucario to face Gyarados, and need to evolve it to avoid being hit by Bounce. The timing's a little tough to get, but the sweet spot is about a couple tenths of a second following Gyarados bouncing off the screen. Waterfall will be the next attack, so I have to run out of its intended path and click Thunder Punch at the end to knock it out safely. I'm moving close for Corbeau's Roserade and take it out with Ice Punch. Scolopede's Mega Evolution is actually still Bug Poison, even though it looks like it would gain the Steel type. It uses Protect, but a plus Psychic breaks through for some damage, putting it in range of a Mystical Fire. There must have been some unwritten rule about not designing a proper fist bump this game. Corbeau stays over at Hotel Z and gives Tawny a $900,000 tip to cover the debt. Both Lita and Naveen want to fight with their new Megastones, although Staryu can't actually Mega Evolve yet. Thunder Punch takes out Lita's level 48 Staryu, leaving Naveen. I call on Heracross one final time since a couple of Naveen's Pokemon are Brick Break fodder, and I found out Lucario wasn't actually strong enough. Rock Blast takes out Ariados, a Mega Evolved Megahorn deals with Sableye, and Brick Break knocks out both Crocodile and Mega Scrafty. Someone named Laban invites Tawny and I to a tournament at Hotel Richissime. I change into a suit to fit the occasion, enter the tournament, and immediately drop out to deal with some more rogue Pokemon. The tournament organizer, Jacinth, sneaks into Hotel Z to intrude on the TMZ strategy meeting, which, to be honest, is kinda fitting. The first rogue Pokemon up is Frostlass. Its primary attacks are Icy Wind and Phantom Force, which are easy enough to protect Absol from. Unfortunately, like in many of these battles, its ultimate move is the problem. It drops icicles everywhere and uses Blizzard to cover the entire field. You can't even roll through it to avoid damage. You can actually just hide behind the icicles, but I didn't figure this out in time. After 5 tries, I decide that the best solution is to just try and remove the entirety of Frostlass's HP from up close, following its first charge. After one Swords Dance boost, Absol deals damage so quickly that Frostlass can't even reach an enraged state before fainting. I catch a bunch of Pokemon to increase my research level to 22, awarding me the TM for Flash Cannon. This should give Lucario enough firepower to deal with Altaria. Its primary attacks are Dragon Pulse and the slow-moving Moonblast, while its ultimate move consists of throwing out several twisters around the battlefield. After being enraged, it gets access to Brave Bird, which I get caught by on the first possible occasion. While the fight takes a while due to my relatively weak attacks, I eventually win with enough patience. Mega Venusaur wasn't so simple. Its normal attacks are the same as Victreebel's, although its Vine Whip appears to have better range. Its ultimate move has a few phases. First, it fires brambles around the field that you'll have to avoid touching. About 30 seconds later, it'll fire a wave across the field that is basically unavoidable unless you destroy every bramble within that time frame. After that, Venusaur will fire off a solar beam in your direction, though that's probably the easiest phase to deal with. I didn't find out I needed to remove the brambles until a couple hours after starting this battle, so I was hard stuck at that wave-like attack for a while. Delphox's fire moves are able to spread between neighboring brambles, no matter how weak, so I teach it Fire Spin to reduce the overall cooldown time. Given I'm not planning to Mega Evolve in this battle, I can use plus moves with Delphox without having to worry about conserving my meter. Delphox destroys the brambles at the last possible second, nullifying Venusaur's first major attack, and then brings it under 50% HP to activate the next phase. Now there are two sets of brambles I need to destroy and occasional poison puddles that exude from under Venusaur. History repeats itself, but Delphox is able to KO Venusaur with several plus moves before it can damage us. Back at Hotel Z, Jacint's underlings, including Laban, ambush and trap us within the equivalent of a battle zone called a Jacinth zone in order to force us back into the tournament. All of their Pokemon are individually easy enough to deal with, but having to battle all three of them consecutively will be brutal. Trainer 1 leads off with a Mawile that always uses Taunt on turn 1. I went through a ton of trial runs, but eventually settled on using Excadrill for this phase. Drill Run knocks out Mawile during its taunt, and Klefki before it can attack. Trainer 2 has a Dragonair and Shelgon, the latter which will use Focus Energy immediately. I Mega Evolve Excadrill to avoid Dragonair's Dragon Rush and use Drill Run to knock it out. She sends out Shelgon next, which Earthquake knocks out. During that last Earthquake, I moved my Pokemon indicator over to Lucario, so it would become the first Pokemon sent out against Laban. Laban's got 4 Dragon types starting with Noivern, which uses Hurricane. That takes forever to activate, so it falls to an Ice Punch before it can attack. Tyrantrum's special defense is very low, so I expect Aura Sphere will KO it, even though Lucario's in base form. I thought it would use a super effective Earthquake, but I have to avoid a resisted Breaking Swipe first for some reason. Aura Sphere goes off and takes it out before Earthquake activates, and I'm moving close to fight Garchomp, which Ice Punch should knock out. It doesn't actually do that, but Extreme Speed covers the difference before anything bad can happen. With my Mega Meter filled up, I switched an Excadrill to deal with Laban's Dragalge. Mega Dragalge has Protect, but I have 2 super effective moves. The second one hits in time because Hydro Pump takes forever to load. This is definitely not cheesing. Jacinth apparently trapped the entire tournament field in her hotel for the entire 2 or 3 days I was gone, which is frankly unsurprising. My 3 battles will be against Canary, Ivor, and Corbeau, with a rest period in between each. Nothing really changes much between the last fights I had with each of them, with the most notable difference being that I have to dodge a Liquidation from Electros. I also realized that Corbeau's Gyarados' Waterfall was not a plus move, so Detect from Lucario became a viable option. Before I can battle Jacinth, Zygarde and Nell show up. Zygarde wants to battle me in its 50% form this time, and after a few attempts, I realize it's going to be pretty difficult to avoid damage with how quickly Zygarde can throw out attacks. I do the sensible thing and replace Lucario with a level 5 Patrat, which I subsequently teach Toxic. While Toxic doesn't work in rogue battles, it should work here. Patrat uses Toxic and immediately returns to its Pokeball, avoiding Land's Wrath. From there, the battle consists of running and rolling in circles until Poison can zap away the rest of Zygarde's health. Though I didn't realize it at the time, I actually had another solution available to me, which I'll explain later. Patrat's cool and all, but I'll need Lucario back to destroy Jacinth's fairy types. The game wants you to hate her so badly, yet gives her arguably the best battle theme in the game. Her first Pokemon, Carbink, will use Stealth Rock, so I'll need a long-range Steel-type move to OHKO it. Flash Cannon does the trick, and I switch in Excadrill as she sends in Mawile. I need to dodge one Fire Fang, so Drill Run can safely knock it out a couple seconds later. Gardevoir is next, but uses Calm Mind while hiding within the Stealth Rocks, meaning I've got to dodge another attack. Ironhead knocks Gardevoir out following one missed Ickle Fire. I Mega Evolve Excadrill in preparation for Jacinth's ace, Clefable. Mega Clefable gains the Flying type, but is still weak to Steel moves. Metal Claw baits up Protect, and Ironhead picks up the KO. As a reward, Jacinth gives me the TM for Play Rough, which might become useful for Absol. Only one trio of Rogue Megas are left, though in terms of individual Pokemon, they're probably the strongest. I go for Megastarmie first, but Philippe from the Rust Syndicate is blocking the way. He has the same Pokemon with an Aggron in between, so I need to switch an Excadrill for that part. Skarmory is a little easier to deal with since it has Protect this time around. Psyshock draws up Protect, and Flamethrower follows up for the knockout. Philippe gives Lita a Water Stone to evolve her Staryu into Starmie, so this upcoming battle should become marginally easier. This has to be the goofiest Mega Evolution. Honestly, the only things to be careful of happen after Starmie becomes enraged. Its ultimate fires off 6 quick Hydro Pumps around the battlefield, but rolling at the right time is enough to dodge these like usual. Mega Absol deals damage too quickly for Starmie to recover, and I win the battle easily. Second is Mega Dragonite, which has a lot of attacks. Air Slash, Flamethrower, and Outrage are its primaries, while Hurricane combined with Thunder and Hyper Beam are its ultimates. It doesn't take much time to realize I should probably find an Ice type. I head over to Wild Area 12 and catch a ton of Snoruns. Exactly one has a good attack IV, so I train it up until it evolves into Glalie and reaches level 62. I name it James Harden. Icicle Crash is the strongest physical Ice type move available to it, and is a long range move. Ice Shard is the weakest one, but activates immediately like Extreme Speed and Aqua Jet. Unfortunately, dodging Dragonite's Flamethrower is pretty difficult thanks to Glalie's slow movement speed. My best hope is to rely on Dragonite focusing on Tawny's Pokemon instead of Glalie. The first time I'm able to bring Dragonite into Rage range, I'm unable to deal enough damage to stop it from charging, and fall to its exploding Hyper Beam. A couple levels later, I get back to the same point and leave Glalie in instead of switching out to avoid the giant tornado. Glalie somehow avoids it, and stops Dragonite from charging with Icicle Crash. From here, I just need to dodge 5 fixed Hyper Beams and the battle should be over. I send Glalie out to put Dragonite in range of one more hit, switch it out in time to avoid the tornado, run around the map, send it back out, and click Icicle Crash to end it. Tyranitar is bulky but doesn't have Sandstream in this game, which would normally boost its special defense by 50%. That means a 4x super effective Aura Sphere should be tremendous. All of Tyranitar's attacks are individually easy to dodge, except for maybe its post-rage state Giga Impact, where it teleports to your location and stomps. Lucario KOs T-Tar with close combat, and I'm finally able to take part in my Rank 8 promotion match. I've got no idea who Grisham is, so I need to get some information from Emma. She wants to battle with a real team for the first time, but Excadrill can basically solo the entirety of it. Her ace is Mega Malamar, which retains its Psychic and Dark typing. Excadrill's Mega Horn takes it out, and Emma transfers me to Mabel, who redirects me to the Novo food truck. Apparently, Grisham and Grisel are 2 kids of some of the original Team Flare members and were ostracized due to the team's infamy. Kinda messed up. Grisham sends me over to the remnants of the Lysander Cafe, where I've gotta fight Grisel. She leads off with Talonflame, while I lead off with Feraligatr. Talonflame will always use Quick Attack, so I'll either need to protect or Mega Evolve to avoid it. None of that matters, as Aqua Jet doesn't even come close to picking up a KO. Unfortunately, it seems like Feraligatr might just be past its prime. I level up Lucario a bit more and teach it Thunder Punch. If I Mega Evolve as soon as possible, Lucario can avoid Quick Attack and use Thunder Punch before Talonflame can deal any damage with Flare Blitz. I send out Excadrill for Camerupt, which is a piece of cake thanks to its Protect. Aerodactyl is third but can easily hit Excadrill with Crunch. It'll use Crunch, Iron Head, and Stone Edge in that order, so I should have a safe opening to use my own Iron Head in between the latter 2 moves. Fourth is Metagross, but a soft sand boosted Drill Run isn't enough to KO it. Even if it was, Metagross's Ice Punch and Bullet Punch would have outpaced it. I complete a quest near the Quasartico building to win the Scope Lens, which increases a Pokemon's critical hit ratio by 1 stage. By giving it to Absol, it should make Night Slash's critical hit rate 50%, which should pick up Metagross. After a few attempts, Night Slash picks up that critical hit, and I switch into Lucario to face Grisel's ace, Pyroar. This is definitely my least favorite Mega Evolution. They just dropped an extra main on its head. Brick Break outspeeds Snarl and knocks Pyroar out. I learned that AZ implanted a device named Ange into Prism Tower 2 millenniums ago, which was awakened by Lysander activating the ultimate weapon 5 years ago. That's the reason for all the rogue Mega Evolutions over the past few years. Grisham's motivation for winning the Royale is to become Lumios's hero through using Floette to stop the tower from destroying Lumios, thereby removing the negative stereotypes forced upon him by Team Flare's reputation. Before battling him, I decide it's time to fix my special attackers and buy a ton of EV reducing berries, beating all of them to Delphox and Esper. I complete a side quest in the Rouge district to obtain the Power Lens, the special version of the Power Bracer, and EV train the 2 Pokemon until their special attack stats are maxed out. Time to take on Grisham, who leads off with Pangoro. Absol's Aerial Ace forces out a Protect, while Playrough picks up the KO. I switch in Lucario to take on Pyroar, but Brick Break just misses out. Near the Blue District, I complete another side quest to earn the Black Belt, which boosts the power of fighting type attacks by 20%. Brick Break KOs Pyroar in the run back, and Tyranitar stands no chance against the same attack. Salamence is 4th, but gets picked off by Ice Punch. I switch in Absol for Malamar, and use Play Rough even though it won't KO. Malamar will always go for Hypnosis, which inflicts drowsiness, a bad version of sleep that only increases the cooldown time of moves. That allows Night Slash to knock it out right after. I send out Excadrill as Grisham sends out his Charizard and Mega Evolves it into its X form. I match it and use Earthquake to bait out another Protect, then begin spamming the A button to use Drill Run as fast as possible. It KOs Charizard just in time, and that's my final promotion match in the books. That night, Prism Tower starts to go berserk. Once I arrive in the area, the final battle of the ZA Royale between Tawny and I commences. I lead Absol into Meowstic, which should go for either Light Screen or Reflect immediately. It chooses the option worse for me and survives Night Slash with a small amount of HP. Aerial Ace takes it out before it can attack, and I switch into Excadrill in order to fight Goodra. Goodra still has a defense doubling Reflect up for a while, so I'll need to avoid a ton of attacks to stall it out. Everything you see here somehow happened on my first attempt at this battle. Once I'm confident Goodra will use a slow activating Draco Meteor, I Drill Run to take out half its health and protect just in time to avoid any damage. With Reflect gone, Ironhead knocks Goodra out. Tawny sends an Emboar, but it goes for Bulk Up and falls to an Earthquake. Manectric has Overheat that I'll need to watch out for, but only after it uses Protect. Snarl comes out instead for some reason, but Drill Run fires first anyways. Delphox uses Fire Spin to bait out another Protect and KOs Avalugg with Flamethrower. I probably should have mentioned it earlier, but Fire Spin is basically a repetitive 20 base power fire move as long as the target is still in the flames. I swap in Excadrill as Tawny sends in Meganium, after which we trade Mega Evolutions. Meganium gains the Fairy typing after it evolves, so Steel moves are actually super effective. It uses Leech Seed, and one Ironhead later, I'm officially the strongest Mega Evolution user in Lumiose. Tawny's a sore loser with a hero complex, so she takes Floette for herself, kinda removing the entire point of the ZA Royale. Tawny and Mega Floette head up the tower, which somehow takes over Floette and turns into a Kaiju. You know what, that's karma. Kinda funny how the game made such a big deal about Mega Floette stopping the tower when in reality it just made a problem worse. Zygarde is allegedly necessary to stop it, so I've got to travel across the city and climb buildings in order to reach it, instead of it locating me where a tower is literally moving. Unspeakable nonchalance. Several rogue Mega Evolutions are blocking my path, though luckily none of these battles are in raid form. I have Lita and Naveen available to help me out, so I withdraw my Pokemon while theirs slowly KO Mega Heracross and Gengar. That process took a while though, so maybe there's a more efficient solution. The rest of the cast offer to help me out, including even flawed personalities such as Jacinthe and Corbeau. During the second Zygarde fight, I mentioned that I had another solution available to me other than Patrat using Toxic. That solution involves Absol's Perish Song, which causes any Pokemon in the attack radius to faint if they don't switch out within 30 seconds, which rogue Pokemon obviously cannot do. I test this out against a trio of rogues while teaming up with Gwyn and Eivor, but I'm only able to land it on Pidgeot. That lets my allies' Pokemon focus on fewer enemies though, speeding up the battle a little bit. After Eivor creates a bridge by punching Rubble, I take out a Blastoise and Steelix with Canary, Salamence and Aggron with Laban, and Gardevoir and Gallade with Corbeau. I climb the building using a Rust Syndicate human ladder, team up with Grisham and Grisel to beat 3 more rogue Pokemon, and finally get close to Zygarde. There's exactly one Pokemon on my team that can take on the monstrosity at the center of Lumiose, and it's not Feraligatr, Lucario, Excadrill, Delphox, or Absol. I evolve a Snorunt into Frostlass with the Dawnstone, advancing my research rank to 24 and awarding me the TM for Thunderbolt. I teach that move to Esper after giving it a Scope Lens, watch Zygarde transform into its complete form, and challenge Hyper Rogue and Floette. Esper has one of the smallest hitboxes in the game, and pretty much every one of this boss's attacks are slightly elevated, minus the one where its flowers slam the ground repeatedly. This means that Esper is virtually immune to the tower's attacks, at least during the first part of the fight, especially when covered up by the 2 walls of rubble on the sides of the battlefield. The reason I chose Confusion, Thunderbolt, and Psyshock as Esper's attacks, even with stronger moves available, is that those 3 can still function without a direct line of sight towards the target. Sometimes when targeting one of the 2 flowers, Esper traveled around the wall and into harm's way, but I found that I could prevent this by targeting with the trainer positioned a few feet behind the wall. Repeatedly cycling through all 3 attacks doesn't give Esper a chance to mess up its position, so from there the first phase of the battle is basically over. The second phase is nearly the same as the first, although the tower stops attacking to charge up its auto-win move, Light of Ruin. I have to withdraw and seek Zygarde's protection for those attacks, so the Esper positioning strategy has to be repeated several times during this phase. Still simple overall, and I beat it pretty quickly. The third phase is a completely different animal, since the tower gains one more attack that can hit you from anywhere on the field. You can roll to avoid it, but it'll likely hit Esper if it's not far enough away from you. After losing several times without even getting close, I teach Esper Workup, giving it a way to boost its special attack temporarily. I also wisen up and give it the Wise Glasses, which boosts all special attacks by 10% rather than one in roughly every 8 by 50% like what the Scope Lens did. This rapidly speeds up the first 2 phases of the battle, but doesn't change too much in the third. My strategy for avoiding this Orb Explosion attack eventually converged into running as far away as I could from Esper after clicking a move, then rolling away if I saw Ange's attack indicator. Eventually, I get a run where I'm able to take out one flower early in the battle, having the frequency of the attacks for the remainder. Angela ends up never using the problem attack for the next couple minutes, and Esper brings it down to very low HP. However, one attack away, the unthinkable happens. I'm able to roll away to avoid damage, as Esper beats the game with one final Thunderbolt. After Zygarde takes out the tower with a couple massive attacks, including one in Mega form, the credits finally roll. There's still a couple things to do in the postgame, most of which I'll gloss over. I spam a ton of battles in the new Infinite ZA Royale and easily defeat Tawny and her Floette following my 15th Challenger ticket. She finds out that the Quasartico CEO Jet is her grandma and gets gifted that position for this multi-billion-dollar company thanks to nepotism. I'm required to catch a couple legendaries to progress in the game, so I capture Xerneas with a heal ball and Yveltal with an Ultra Ball at full health. That allows me to fight L, the strongest trainer in this game by level. He leads with Pyroar while I lead with Lucario. I Mega Evolve right before I can get hit by Flamethrower and knock out Pyroar with Brick Break. Next up is Florges, which falls to a Metal Claw. Flash Cannon would have been stronger from Lucario's end alone, but Florges has a base special defense set of 154. I switch in Absol to fight Sableye and patiently wait for it to use Confuse Ray, which takes a while to completely activate. Confusion doesn't matter as mentioned before, and Play Rough knocks Sableye out. Fourth is Garbodor, so I switch in Excadrill. Garbodor won't go for a poison move, so I move Exca out of the way to avoid Brutal Swing. Drill Run takes it out a couple seconds later. I swap back into Lucario to take on L's Noivern. Ice Punch quickly takes it out, leaving just Gyarados. Mega Gyarados replaces its flying type with Dark, so it'll be weak to fighting type moves. I take advantage of this, and one final Brick Break wins the final trainer battle of this video. Zygarde zips over to Wild Area 20, which the remains of the tower have been converted into. Like with the previous final boss, its fight has 3 phases. 1 in 10% dog form, 1 in 50% snake form, and 1 in 100% optimal prime form. I used up all my EXP and rare candies on Glalie thinking it would be useful in this fight, but its lack of speed is a killer once again, and I end up kicking it off the team after a few hours. I tag in Xerneas and EV train it to try to compensate for its level. That doesn't work either, as it still can't deal damage enough quickly to be worth using. I end up sticking with trusty old Lucario, with its only super effective move being Ice Punch. Zydog has 3 moves: Extreme Speed, 1000 Arrows, and Crunch. 1000 Arrows is the most common of these, and you can tell if it's being used based on where Zygarde is on the map. If you see it sprinting to the edge of the map, it's about to use 1000 Arrows in a straight line traveling in the direction that it's facing. If it's close to you, you should run in a perpendicular direction to avoid a potential Extreme Speed or Crunch. It's not worth it to switch out Lucario for this phase. Ice Punch deals a ton of damage even without a same type attack bonus, so Zydog isn't difficult to defeat at all. Next up is Cobra Guard, which also has 3 primary attacks. Rock Slide and Dragon Pulse are its long-ranged attacks, while Crunch is its close one. Rock Slide can be dodged by running far away and back inside, while Dragon Pulse can be dodged by running in a U-shaped pattern. Following the first attack, Zygarde will roar, providing an opening for Lucario to use Ice Punch without getting hit by Crunch. This roar occurs after every 2 subsequent attacks. 2 Mega Evolved Ice Punches and an Extreme Speed are always enough to daze it. This form's ultimate move is Lamb's Wrath, which can easily be avoided by rolling around the field once you see green flares show up on the screen. This phase is definitely harder than the last one, but still not difficult. As you can guess, the 100% form is the hardest by far. Unlike in the previous 2 phases, Zygarde prefers to target your character rather than your Pokémon. This makes running away from attacks with your Pokémon out on the field more difficult, since you'll often end up dragging them into the line of fire. Complete form Zygarde only has 2 primary attacks, being 1000 Waves, which kind of works like a wider Earthquake, and 1000 Arrows, which targets your character like Rock Slide, though with a more dangerous activation time and attack radius. The second attack is significantly scarier, so I want to force Zygarde into 1000 Waves as much as possible by staying relatively close to it. You'll know it's using it when it either freezes after walking a bit, or performs a jump stop following walking. Aura Sphere and Flash Cannon can hit Zygarde from a distance outside of the range of 1000 Waves, so I just need to make sure to move far out of the way before targeting in order to keep Lucario safe. Unfortunately, landing Ice Punch is difficult in this battle because Zygarde jumps backwards every time it uses Waves. This form's ultimate moves are extremely tough if you don't know the trick to dodging, and I actually lost the entire battle during these attacks a few times during my casual playthrough. When Zygarde uses Core Enforcer, it fires off a beam in the shape of a Z through half the battlefield and causes the other half to explode a few seconds later. There are 2 very small areas where you'll be safe, on opposite sides of the battlefield. If you treat Zygarde as a 12 on a clock, those areas will be around the 9 and the 3. Zygarde's second attack is Lamb's Wrath, but there's an exploitable pattern here as well. About half a second after seeing the green flares pop up, I roll for immunity, then head for the edge of the battlefield, run for a couple seconds, and repeat. After around 5 hours, I finally bring Zygarde into red HP. I dodge Lamb's Wrath, several sets of 1000 Arrows, Mega Evolve Lucario, and finish off Zygarde with one final Aura Sphere. After about 80 real-life hours, that concludes the most difficult no-damage challenge I've ever undertaken. Hope you guys enjoyed the run, and please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks for watching.